Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unwanted Opinions podcast. Jay and I are back, recording actually on a Tuesday, about 5:30 Eastern Time. Jay and I missed yesterday, had to catch up on some of those games from Sunday, and we actually had a Monday night doubleheader because of COVID. So the Chiefs and the Patriots were moved, so that was kind of weird. It just whatever. And we've had 3 NBA Finals games since the last time Jay and I have been on here and talked. We both like the Lakers. We'll talk about the Heat's incredible Game 3 victory that was much needed. We'll run through Sunday and Monday's games like we normally do from the NFL weekend. But Jay, how was your Tuesday? Used to asking how your Monday was. How was your Tuesday?
Not too bad. Pretty fun, action-packed all day. I was on the phone pretty much the entire day. But, yeah.
That kind of day?
No complaints. Yep, that's it. I'm a little upset that I didn't get to start Clyde Edwards-Helaire in fantasy this week because my dumb ass didn't realize they switched the game to Monday night until late. I just thought it was
canceled.
I thought it was going to be played at a later date, but
yeah,
I still won, so
but
I'm okay.
That's all right. I mean, fantasy's rather annoying this year.
Why? Why don't you tell the people why, Nick?
It's on it. We were texting about it. It's actually probably karma because I've told Jay that's just how the game goes. So I'm 1-3 in our league. A lot of you that are listening, you're in our Unlearned Opinions podcast fantasy league. You probably have seen every single all 4 weeks. I have played the player who has scored the most points for the week. I am first in points allowed, which is just a stupid number anyways. Points scored against you, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm second in points scored my team has scored. So I would have beaten almost every single person other than the guy I played every single week. But it just is the luck of the draw. I just play the best fucking team of the week. It's bullshit. Fantasy fucking sucks this year. So there you go.
Huh.
But
no, I don't have 0 sympathy.
Hey, but I don't want to change the way the rules are. It's just I'm just pissed because I'm losing, but it just happens, man. It just does.
Whatever you want to say, man.
I will say I'm getting absolutely atrocious play at the quarterback position in fantasy. So
same.
Trying to make some changes. But
my best fantasy week so far was this week when I went and picked up Justin Herbert out of free agency. I haven't been able to rely on Matt Ryan.
I tried to go get him, but you had the waiver wire. You were higher on the waiver wire.
Start out like 0-2.
Yeah, well, so did I. I think I was just the one right behind you. Yeah,
well, I got him.
But I mean, hey, I think my team's pretty good. It's just like I said, of course, I'm playing the guy every single week who scores the most points in the league. So I mean, it is what it is. Anyways,
exactly.
All right. Let's start, before we get to any of the NFL stuff, Jay, let's just start with the finals because the Heat took a 2-0 lead. The Lakers took a 2-0 lead over the Heat. The Miami had lost Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo after Game 1. Game 2 was kind of a shit show, really. I mean, Miami you just didn't, from the start, didn't believe that they were going to win at all, and the Lakers kind of knew that. So then the Lakers go up 2-0. Game 3, Jimmy Butler just has the absolute game of his career. I mean, that's probably the best I've ever seen him play. I mean, he just got anything he wanted. The Lakers just really came out and did exactly what I thought they would. They didn't respect their opponent, and when you don't respect your opponent, you usually lose. Because as bad as they played, and as good as Jimmy Butler played, I know they were without 2 starters, they still only lost by 11 when you could totally tell by their body language they didn't care about the game. They came into a lethargic. They were just throwing horrible passes to start the game. Just like, I think they had 8 turnovers in the first quarter. 4 of them were by Anthony Davis. I mean, he was just out of rhythm all night. Didn't really show up. Was flat. LeBron, the same thing. I mean, he still ended up with 25, 10, and 8, which, I mean, he basically walked through the entire game and still came up with that. But you got to give a lot of credit to the Heat because they went out, played hard. They're like, we're not going out this way. We're not, because that was probably, if they lose that game, they're down 3-0. That's probably their season. So you could look at that as almost like a game 7, sort of how Denver played the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals when the Lakers went up 2-0, then LA came out flat and the Nuggets just took control of that game. That's exactly what it looked like. Was just like the Lakers were going through the motions, they were slowing their rotations, they didn't figure out what they were doing. But if you remember, Jay, I said Lakers in 5 originally, and I told you I said they'd get games 1 and 2, lose game 3, win game 4 and 5, close it out. I still think that's what's going to happen because the Lakers are just a better team. I know Bam should be playing tonight, but when Bam was in, that also gives the Lakers a huge, I wouldn't say a huge advantage, but they can stick with Dwight Howard because Bam is not a guy who's going to stretch the floor and shoot a bunch. Because when they had Myers Leonard and Kelly Olynyk in a bunch, they're guys that want to pick and pop, opposed to diving to the rim, so they couldn't play Dwight Howard as much, so they had to play more Markieff Morris and Kuzma. And I know it's an advantage for the Heat to get Adebayo back, but I also think it's sort of an advantage for the Lakers because Dwight Howard's been one of their better players in this playoffs, and he was almost unplayable with the Heat playing such stretch bigs.
I mean, he only played 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I think he was a minus 12.
Minus 15.
Minus 15, there you go. So, yeah, he was bad. And it was hard for him to play because he likes to, he's a guy that protects the paint. He doesn't want to go chase shooters, whatever. But I also think that just watching the game just really pissed me off because you could just tell, like I said, basically they just went through the motions. There was no energy, no effort. I don't know. They just looked like complete shit for 3 quarters, and then they tried to turn it on almost like they did against the Nuggets, where they almost brought that 18-point lead back in Game 3. The Lakers took the lead at one point in the fourth quarter. I think it was 91-89, and then Miami just gets 3 straight buckets, and then the Lakers are just pulling up for long contested fadeaway 2s and 3s, and just not their game.
They didn't have a great night shooting from the 3-point line either. They went 14 for 42, so...
And that's a big thing because the Lakers have taken a bunch of 3s the past 2 games, and that's just really not what
they're forcing them.
That's just not what their game is. So, I don't know.
I props to the Heat because they came out, played hard, and earned that victory. And Jimmy, like you said, Jimmy Butler played out of his mind. But I'll take the Lakers to close it out, just like you in the next 2 games.
Yeah, I just think they'll play with a different mindset. I mean, LeBron is not going to lose a series up 2-0 and just falter. The Heat, I really don't think even if they were at full strength, we're going to win 4 out of the next 5, and that's what they were going to have to do to beat this Lakers team. So I really just don't see it happening. I don't.
And I don't think Anthony Davis is going to have another 15-5 night.
He only shot 9 times.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just not going to do that. He was just out of rhythm all game. I mean, he got into early foul trouble. That was huge because, like I mentioned, they had to play Kuzma and Markieff Morris a lot more at the 5 and the 4, and it was just all of them were just off. It was just a very off game. And
yeah, I mean, him and Dwight Howard combined had 0 blocks.
Yeah, and like you said, Anthony Davis only had 5 rebounds, and they just in Game 2 they really controlled the paint and they made the Heat pay for going small. And in Game 3 they did not because they didn't bring the same energy, effort, because they had a little wiggle room. And you see that happen a lot when teams go up 2-0. They're not the desperate team. They're not the team where their back's against the wall like Miami was.
What do you think about LeBron walking off the court?
I mean, I don't think it's any big deal.
I'm with you.
I've seen a million people do that before. I've seen Kobe Bryant do it. I saw Michael Jordan do it. I think a lot of people on Twitter were trying to compare it to Isaiah Thomas walking off against the Bulls. It was nothing like that. I mean, it was Game 3. It's not the end of the series. And there was, 0.7 of a second left when he walked off the court?
Well, I believe the clock actually hit 0, and then the freaking ref went back and was like, hey, we got to put some time back on.
Well, there you go. Even stupider.
So he saw the clock hit 0, and they asked him about it after the game, if it was out of frustration or he didn't know that the clock wasn't done, and he said it was both.
Yeah, I saw him say both.
So,
which it probably was a little bit of both. I mean, you could tell there was some times where he was getting extremely annoyed with his team on the court. You could just tell by his body language. I mean, he's not one to hide when he gets upset at other people on the court because like I said, they were just everything about what the Lakers did was in spurts, where they gave effort in spurts, where they defended hard in spurts. But for a majority of the game, the Heat just played harder, and that's what the Heat do. But it's one game, and I mean, everyone loves to overreact to what the Lakers do when they lose a game. They're still up in the series, so I mean, I just expect them to play much better tonight, and there'll be a much different conversation after they're up 3-1.
Give me a final score.
I won't. Scores are hard to predict, especially now. But I'll say the Heat or the Lakers win by 10 plus.
Okay.
And I think LeBron and AD both go for at least 30 apiece.
Both of them?
Yes, like they did in Game 2, where they were.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
They were both very dominant.
AD will have a good game. I think he'll probably hit 30, and I'll give LeBron a similar stat line to Game 3, but with way less turnovers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They were extremely sloppy with the ball. That's just another thing they have to clean up, which they did a very good job in Game 1 and 2. I don't think LeBron had a single turnover in Games 1 or 2.
And he just comes out with 8 in Game 3.
Yeah, and I think 5 were in the first half when they were just extremely, extremely poor.
So. They can't really win when LeBron has 8 turnovers and AD has 15 points.
No, that's not the winning recipe.
And 5 turnovers with himself.
Yeah, you can blame. I know Danny Green and KCP didn't shoot very well, but if your two stars, your two guys you've leaned on for the entire season, don't play up to the standard that they're required to play, you're just not going to beat anybody. I don't care who it is. I don't care
especially
who's
a Heat
out
team
on the
that's
court.
In the finals for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this Heat team is a good team. Without Dragic, without Bam, they're still a good team. They're a better team with those two guys. Don't get me wrong, but I love to. I hate the fact when people say they're missing these two guys, just because. I mean, the shots would go somewhere else anyways, and the Heat are still a good, capable roster of picking together these points. But I believe after Jimmy Butler's 40-point game against Milwaukee, I think he followed it up with a 6-point game in that series, and the Heat were still able to win that game. Now, if Jimmy Butler comes out and scores 6 points, I don't think he does. There's no chance in hell they're beating this Lakers team. That's just it's just, I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? Where
I do.
Just because their two guys are out, obviously those shots are still going to go somewhere else. And if Dragic was in the game, Jimmy Butler would have had the ball in his hands a lot less and probably wouldn't have been as effective anyways, because that's just what Dragic does when he's in the ball game. So, yeah, that's just kind of the point I'm trying to make.
All right.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go from here?
I mean, both of us fully expect the Lakers to...
Oh, yeah. I'm still not even slightly worried that the Lakers are going to lose the series.
No, I'm not either. And I actually saw today that these are some of the worst... This is like one of the worst rated finals of all time.
Really?
Yeah. I think Game 1 drew 7 million, Game 2 was 6.9, and Game 3 was only like 5.8 million viewers.
I think the politics has a little bit to do with the viewership.
Last year, the average finals game was 15 million.
Okay. Yeah, I do think the politics and right or wrong, a lot of people don't like that the players are doing stuff during the anthem and crap. I do think that has a lot to do with the ratings.
I agree.
It also, I mean, because any other year, there's a lot of Miami Heat fans. There's a ton of Lakers fans.
Exactly. And it's just a weird situation right now because a lot of the times they're trying to compete with football. I mean, on nights where they're trying to compete with the NBA or the NFL, it's just going to be extremely hard. That's why they are going Tuesday. And then for Game 5, it's not going to be played until Friday because they don't want to have to try and compete with Thursday Night Football. So
makes sense.
Yeah. All right. But let's go to the NFL. Jay, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the
Let's start with
Texans?
Billy O.
Firing Billy O. You take the reins on this one. You start us off.
All I can say is about damn time. I mean, the dude, as a coach, he wasn't horrible. I mean, they won 4 division titles under him. So he has something to hang his hat on as a coach. They won games with a pretty bad roster a lot of the time. One, because they got Deshaun Watson, but so it's a double-edged sword. So he won some games with a pretty bad roster, but he had a pretty bad roster because he was also the GM. So
yes,
his GM moves have definitely overridden his coaching abilities. And in my mind, he should have been fired a long time ago. If nothing else, they should have demanded him step down from the GM position and found somebody else and just had him do the coaching duties. But I mean, they started off 0-4. Granted, I know they had a pretty hard, rough four first opponents, but this Texans team has gone downhill pretty fast, and it's literally hanging by a string held by Deshaun Watson. That is
Yeah.
the only reason they're in any game, because their offense, after they got rid of DeAndre Hopkins, pretty bad across the board.
Yeah.
Bad O-line. You got Will Fuller, who can't stay healthy and has had a couple of good games his whole career. Kenny Stills, who's bounced around team to team to team. You traded
Overpaid for Randall Cobb.
Overpaid for Randall Cobb, gave away arguably a top 3 wide receiver in the league for a running back who hasn't been able to stay healthy and has had 1 or 2 good seasons.
And also makes $13 million a year.
And then defensively, you're nowhere near what you used to be. J.J. Watt isn't what he used to be. You've gotten rid of Jadeveon Clowney.
That defense is like almost unrecognizable. I mean, they used to have a ton of big name guys on there, and you knew everybody, and now they don't, and they have the highest payroll in the NFL. An 0-4 team has the highest payroll in the NFL. I don't know what took the Texans ownership so long to fire this guy, or at least, like you said, find a GM, find a competent guy who can go out there and make decisions, because you've seen there's not a lot of people that are cut out to do this job.
Two
where you can coach and be the GM. It's hard to do one of the jobs, let alone both. And Bill O'Brien, I would say he was a good head coach. I don't know if he was ever going to be great to lead you to a Super Bowl of where they wanted to be, but he was good, but a god-awful GM. Just horrendous.
I don't know of one trade that they won.
No, because
I
thought they overpaid for Laramie Tunsil. I mean,
and they had to, because of the bad move that he did when he traded away the first rounders for a guy whose contract was expiring.
And they couldn't figure out a deal with Dwayne Brown and had to trade away Dwayne Brown, who was maybe one of their best players in franchise history. I mean, it's just move after move that this guy got so many second chances. I'm just like, why? How? What has he proven to keep getting all these opportunities? I just didn't understand it. I mean, as a Colts fan, I loved it, because anytime they said the Texans made a trade, I'm just like, well, they got worse.
Yeah. I mean, when they lost DeAndre Hopkins, I was like, thank God.
He was the sole reason why the Colts lost to them last year. I mean, he torched Pierre Desir on that Thursday night game, and that basically kind of sent the Colts season into a spiral.
So I just think it was long overdue.
It was. You put it perfectly when you said from the top, about damn time. I mean, I'm not sure why it took him this long. A minute. If I was the owner and he called me and said, I'm going to ship away DeAndre Hopkins for a 30-year-old running back and a second-round pick, I'd have said, no, you're not. You're fired.
Yeah, you're not making that move.
You're not making that trade.
And also don't come back into the office.
Exactly, yes. All right, well, then leave your keys on your desk. We'll talk later. So
now my question is, without a head coach, I don't know if they're just going to tank. I don't know who takes over. Have they named an interim coach?
They can take. They don't have their first or second round pick this year.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Miami has
It's owned to the Dolphins, and everyone, if you're in the Dolphins organization, you're doing backflips in your office. Or if you're Brian Flores, you're just like, or Tua, you're just like, hell yeah, I'm going to get some better players in the next draft, because we haven't got our own pick and we suck. And we have the Texans first and second round pick and they suck.
Yeah. If you're a Texas fan, I'm sorry. You're going to have quite a few bad years.
I mean,
they don't have draft picks.
They have no moves to make for the next couple of years. They're in hell. Deshaun Watson is becoming Andrew Luck, and we've said this for a while.
Yep. I hate to see it too, because he's such a good player.
He is, and I love watching him play. I mean, he's just a baller. I mean, he almost single-handedly brought him back this past weekend against Minnesota after they were down like 31-8 or something. But
do you think there's any chance the new GM they bring in just decides to trade Deshaun Watson and get as many first-round picks as he can and just try and start over? Because in all honesty, they have no draft picks. They have no salary cap. They have nothing to rebuild with, so they really can't help Deshaun Watson. He's this roster's not good. So what can you do other than just watch your quarterback spiral down a hill of misery and just you can't even blame him if he fucking sucks.
No, you can't. I would say no because it's so hard to find a good quarterback, and I think Deshaun Watson is a very good player. So I would say no. I just think you need to bring, first of all, you just got to bring in a good GM that can do a quality job. And also, for all Bill O'Brien, yes, like I said, he was a good coach. There were also parts of that offense where, and this may be able to blame Deshaun Watson as well. So this part comes back to coaching. You just got to get a guy in there who's like, look, man, you don't have to throw the ball 50 yards every single play. Like, you can take the check down, or you can take a sack or throw the ball away. Because first of all, we need you, so stop taking unnecessary hits. Look what it did to Andrew Luck. Look what it did to Cam Newton for 2 years before his resurgence this year. I mean, Big Ben. I mean, some of these guys that just take a lot of hits. That's why Russell Wilson's never hurt, because he goes down, he gets out, he doesn't take huge hits. Lamar Jackson, for as much as he scrambles and runs around, he doesn't take a lot of big hits either. And Deshaun Watson gets killed constantly. So I think you just got to bring in a smart coach and a GM. You got to fix the front office first before you try and trade away your best player.
Okay. I wasn't saying I would. I was just asking what you thought.
No. All right. Yeah. That's just...
But yeah, sorry, Texans fans.
I mean, they're 0-4, and I mean, you got two teams in your division, the Colts and the Titans. Titans are 3-0, and the Colts are 3-1. And I didn't think it was going to be a good year for the Texans. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, though.
I didn't either. I mean, they're last in the division.
Yeah.
Jacksonville has a win.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. I mean, just if we're going to stick with that game, Minnesota got a much-needed victory to, keep their season alive, if you will. I mean, since the Packers look amazing, and the Bears are a very faulty 3-1, but they're still 2 games up on Minnesota. But the Vikings, I think, found something because they started implementing Justin Jefferson into their offense, and since they have in the past 2 games, he's gone over 100 yards in back-to-back games, and their defense is still issues because they just give up a lot of yards and a lot of big plays. But I mean, it'll help when they get Danielle Hunter back. But
yeah, it will, but I think they just went back to their roots. Run the ball.
Run the ball. There you go. Yes.
Yeah, keep the ball at it. Let Kirk be a game manager, not a franchise quarterback. That's what got them to when they went 13-3. They ran the ball, and then Kirk was efficient throwing on third down, underneath routes. He could throw over the top, but their bread and butter was running the ball. And this game, I think they ran the ball 34 times combined.
And Dalvin Cook, they just paid him in the offseason. Use him.
Exactly, and they did. I think he went for like 130.
Yeah, and he had a few incredible runs. That one touchdown run, he broke like 8 guys. From 7 yards out, he broke like 8 tackles, it seemed like.
I'm not sold on the Vikings just yet, but it was nice to see. Like I said, they went back to their formula that won them a lot of ball games in the past and used their best player.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's stay in that division, Jay, because I just want to ask you this every single week.
Oh, I'm ready.
The Packers. What do you have to say about the Packers?
They are blowing me away. I cannot hate anymore. I think Rodgers and LaFleur have taken another step forward. There seems to be more motion in the offense. Rodgers looks unstoppable right now. It's like every throw he makes, you just know it's going to be caught. It doesn't even matter who he's throwing to. He's making Tanyan, whoever the fuck that is,
Rob,
have 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The dude's unreal. The offense is good. I'm ready to eat crow by me saying LaFleur was the worst hire.
And they've done this without Devontae Adams.
Exactly. And it doesn't even matter how good their defense plays, because some games their defense gives up 35. Other games their defense holds the Atlanta Falcons offense to 16. But every game the Packers are scoring 30 plus.
Yeah.
Like, you can just count on their offense.
Easy 30.
Aaron Jones is better than I thought he was. This Packers team looks like it could make it to the Super Bowl.
They're damn good. And I thought they were going to take a little. I didn't think they were going to look this good. I still liked them to win this division because I still believe in Aaron Rodgers. And I was a little higher on all these weapons than you were, Jay. And again, I don't. I mean, you said something about how they give up a lot of yards, but I still think their red zone defense, they're not giving up a lot of points, which
They're a bend but don't break.
exactly. And that's something that, I mean, the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick, has harped on. He's like, look, we can give up as many yards as you want, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to score points to beat us, and they just don't. So, really, the Packers can score with anybody, it seems like. I mean, they have, what are they, at least 30 in every single game. They might be like the or number one, or at least a top 5 offense this year. I haven't looked at any of the numbers yet, but just
Have
based
to
off
be
of their
easily
hot
a top
start
five
and
offense.
what they've done, and Aaron Rodgers said something today on Pat McAfee's show where I don't know if you saw it, but he goes, uh, I'm spitballing here, but he said when people talk about me having a down year, he goes, that down year is still some quarterback's career numbers, like for a
Yeah,
season,
that's
like
almost spot on what he
their
said.
career best, which it's true because they just were used to, I guess we're used to Aaron Rodgers' MVP numbers. And when you get to that level, you're expected to either stay at that level or improve every single season, which is unfair to an extent because it's hard to throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns every single season, but you at least have to look the part if you're at that stature.
Yeah, they're averaging 38 points a game.
There you go. Yeah, they've looked damn good. So, and the
Yeah,
Falcons,
so
again,
they're
they're another
trash.
team. Why the fuck is Dan Quinn still the head coach? I just don't understand. What is Arthur Blank? I mean, do they have like an agreement where, hey, you just keep losing all these games so we can be talked about on ESPN and Fox Sports, and so they give us a bunch of publicity for losing, but it's still publicity? What the? Well, I just don't understand. I don't.
I don't even know what's happened because all the good players that got them to the Super Bowl a few years that they were up 28-3, they still have, and they've added other ones like Calvin Ridley. He wasn't on that team. He's a good player. They've added offensive linemen. I don't understand how they've gone from such a good team to so bad so fast.
I don't either. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in sports. I mean, it's just unusual how I don't even know a word to describe what they are.
Atrocious, awful,
I mean,
pitiful.
I mean, if they fall behind,
How
that
does that
means they
offense
can't
only put up
blow a
16
lead.
points?
So I don't know. They just make me sick.
That's all I want to say about the Falcons.
Yeah.
Where you
Same.
want to go next?
We'll move on. Let's just talk about the other Monday night game.
All right.
I just wanted to ask you about the Chiefs and the Patriots, the play that got called dead, where Patrick Mahomes was getting sacked, and the ball, I mean, you could say it fell out of his hands. He tried to throw it, and then it was picked off. To me, looked like it was an interception by, I think it was Wise for the Patriots, and they blew him dead because they said he was grasped by the defender. I thought it was an absolutely atrocious call, and I hate the Patriots, but that was maybe one of the only times they've been burned on a call in the history of their existence. But it was
That I
terrible.
can think of.
It was really
I
bad.
agree with you.
It was terrible.
You know they're always out to protect quarterbacks now. I still think there's something behind the scenes that goes on that when these refs meet with the league tells them these are the guys you got to protect, and Mahomes has to be at the top of that list. And
He's the face of the league. He has to
yeah,
be.
so I think when it comes down to it, they're always going to err on protecting the quarterback, and it was a bad call. It's so hard to play defense nowadays.
It is.
You can't touch a receiver, you can't touch a quarterback. You basically have to wait for anything offensively to happen, let them catch the ball, and then wrap them up and ask if they would like you to take them down. It's super annoying. I'm always going to side with the defense, really, because like I said, it's so tough to play with all the rules. But
I'm normally
that
on the
was
side of the offense, but
I
that was
know
just terrible.
it's just bad.
But, I mean, the atrocious
And
quarterback play by
Yeah.
the Patriots, I mean, Hoyer and Stidham just
They
looked like
combined for 3 picks.
absolute shit. I mean, I don't even think the Chiefs played that well
They
because
did not.
I think the Patriots defense actually did what they could with being on the field so much against the high-powered Kansas City offense because Patrick Mahomes didn't have that great of a game, but the Patriots offense was just so inept without Cam Newton. It was really bad.
Yeah, so hopefully Cam comes back pretty soon.
Well, they said that he possibly could play this Sunday if he gets 2 negative tests for COVID because he's asymptomatic right now.
Good, because they're just more fun to watch with Cam at quarterback, and clearly a better team.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't even know who they play this weekend, but yeah, whatever.
Okay, Chiefs start off 4-0.
Yeah. I think actually I heard today they were the first team in NFL history to start off 4-0 4 straight years.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that never happened to like the Colts with Peyton Manning or the Patriots when Brady was there, and that honestly kind of surprised me that never happened for either
Yeah.
of those two teams. But
You want to know who else has their first 4-0 start for the first time since 2008?
no, hit me.
The Bills.
The Bills. Take it away, Jay, because I think you
Josh
have a
Allen's
little bit
playing.
of apologizing for Josh Allen as well.
No, I don't. I mean, it's been 4 games. He looks better, but I mean, unlike the Packers, who have just for 2 years now just constantly won their games, and I've hated Josh Allen. I mean, up until this year had looked pretty average. He had spurts where he looked really good, and then other times where he looked pretty bad. He's played 4 pretty damn good games, and I've never said he was bad. I just didn't think he would ever be great. And through 4 games, he does look pretty damn good, but I'm not ready to say that he's elite just yet.
Well, no,
But
I can't. I don't. I'm not even ready to say that either. But this is exactly what you want to see from your young quarterback because from his rookie year, second year to his third year now, he's showing those levels of improvement. Because the second year, it was still okay, less turnovers, still try and get the checkdowns at times, and when we have the deep ball, get the deep ball. This year, I mean, it is like all 3 levels. He just is just his and that's something I do fall in love with when evaluating quarterbacks coming out of the draft is arm talent because it's not that common that you have a guy this size with that big of an arm. Because a prime example, I mean, if you just look at pure arm talent, I mean, you talk about Josh Allen, Stafford, Mahomes, Drew Lock. I mean, those type of guys just with the velocity they can put on the ball, and then accuracy will come. It should. If you show improvement, that's what should come next is accuracy because you can't teach just the raw throwing ability. But you can work on timing, you can work on accuracy, you can work on studying film, just getting better chemistry with your receivers. It also helps they went and got Stephon Diggs, who's a legit #1 receiver, and he made an incredible catch down the field. I don't remember what Raiders defender was on, but he completely mossed the guy just right over the middle of the field. But like I mean, that's just what you want to see out of your young quarterback. That's why you draft a guy that high.
Yep, like I
And
said,
I've always loved him.
he's definitely on my radar this year. He looks pretty damn good. Let's see how they finish.
Yeah, true.
And the Raiders, I mean, they're the Raiders.
They-
I believe they're 2-2 now. That's pretty spot on. I believe they'll finish somewhere around 8-8.
And they had a very spoofy win against the Saints on Monday night. I think if they played the Saints now, they would lose. So
I wouldn't disagree there.
yeah.
Eagles 49ers really wasn't a good game. The Eagles got their first win. It's really fucking embarrassing that the Eagles are 1-2-1 and first in that division
Yeah.
because the other 3 teams are horrible as well.
I will say I think this is with the numbers may not say it, but I thought it was Carson Wentz's best game of the year based off of the circumstances because I mean he didn't have Jalen Reagor, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Dallas Goedert. I mean they had like one healthy receiver all day, all week at practice.
Someone they just got out of the AAF.
Yeah, Jason Peters also was down, so there goes their third starting offensive lineman down for an extended period of time, maybe the rest of the year. They don't know. But like I said, based off of the circumstances, I thought Carson Wentz played his best game of the year. and he absolutely needed to. Well, as bad as the division is, I don't know if he needed to. Maybe he needed to stop some of the which was fair, criticism of him by his team. I mean, by his city, the media, fans, whoever. But I thought he played well.
Yeah, he played all right. I mean, we got to put it into perspective too that the Eagles aren't the only ones with injuries. The 49ers were
And
without
I understand.
their starting quarterback, their best pass rusher. They have injuries all over as well. But yeah, it was a good win for the Eagles because they needed it, and that one win put them in first place in the division. Maybe this is what turns them around. I doubt it because together they haven't looked that great as a team.
No, they have not. I mean, but like you said, maybe this strings something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the winner of this division may be may have 6 or 7 wins, which is extremely sad.
Yeah, it is. The last 7-9 team I can remember getting the playoffs was Seattle,
The
and that
Panthers
was
got in at 7-8-1 year.
what year was that?
Was it 2014?
I don't know because the Seattle team I'm thinking of they made it at 7-9.
And that was in 2010. I believe Carolina got in 14 at 7-8-1, if I'm not mistaken, because they beat the Cardinals in the wild card game and then lost up in Seattle the year that the Seahawks lost to New England in the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure that's right. I could be wrong, but I think that's correct.
No, do you have much to say on the Rams Giants 17-9
No,
victory?
it was a disgusting game. I was honestly disappointed that the Rams didn't score more points on the terrible Giants defense. But the exciting thing is Jalen Ramsey and Golden Tate threw some hands, and Jalen Ramsey was apparently waiting outside of the locker room for Golden Tate.
I saw that.
That was the highlight of that game. I mean,
Yes, it was.
the Giants suck. They've only scored 3 offensive touchdowns all year. Did you know that?
Yeah, because I heard someone say that Odell has scored more touchdowns than the entire Giants team all season.
which is terrible. I mean, the Giants are just bad at every aspect of the game.
I mean, you could put it in a better perspective. That Tunyon guy that nobody's heard of for the Packers scored
Well, there you go, just as much
3
in one game.
touchdowns in one game than the Giants have as a whole team through 4.
Yeah, they're just bad. I mean, they're just an embarrassment to the NFL right now. And the Rams, I still don't know what to think of the Rams. I just don't have much of an opinion on them right now. They're not as bad as I thought they were going to be, but I don't think they're as good as some thought they would be. That's a little confusing of a sentence right there, but I think you get it.
I do. Jury's still out on the Rams, in my opinion, too. Because they've had some good games, or some good quarters, I should say. I don't know
Yes,
if they've
there you go.
strung together an
That's a way
entire
to
game
put it. Good
just yet.
quarters.
And then they come out and win 17-9 against the Giants. So I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
Ravens whooped up on the fucking the Washington
The
football
Washington
team.
football team. Yes.
No surprise there. Washington is not very good, and the Ravens are pretty damn good, and they were coming off of a loss. So
yeah, the
you
Ravens
just
got a
expected-
much-needed bounce-back victory. I think Lamar Jackson looked pretty good, but again, I mean, Washington, they're just offensively. Haskins ended with like 300 yards, but I think they were down like 31-7, and then he had a lot of garbage time stats at the end, which is very similar to another NFC East quarterback, which game we can go to next, because I don't have anything else to say about the Ravens.
I don't either.
At that game, I mean, I don't. The Cowboys and the Browns. Dak Prescott's numbers looked like he is the MVP of the league right now. I mean, they were down like 41-14 in the fourth quarter, and then this guy just goes and throws for like 350 yards, and then his numbers look incredible. They only end up losing by I think it was 11. But
49-38.
But the Browns just absolutely kicked the shit out of the Cowboys all day long. They were garbage time stats. And how many times are the Cowboys going to be down like 30 points in the last 2 years? I mean, it happened so much last year, and Dak ends up leading the league in yards, and I think he's on pace for like 6,700 passing yards.
It's stupid.
Through the first 4 games, I believe. But I mean, their defense sucks. Their offense doesn't help them in any situation because they turn the ball over 3 times. So I don't know. I just don't think that's just why you look at box score. You're like, oh, well, Dak had a fantastic game. It must be all the defense's fault. But no, that's just not true.
It's not. If you watch the game, one, yes, their defense is
It
absolutely
sucks.
dog ass. Like they are not good. They're paying DeMarcus Lawrence all this money, and he has, I believe, 0 sacks on the year. And their best pass rusher is probably, actually, honestly, they're probably their best defender right now is a guy who hadn't played football in like 4 or 5 years in Alden Smith.
Yeah.
They're just their defense can't stop anybody. The Browns put up 49 points on them, and then like you said, they were down 41 to 14.
I think it was 41-14 at one point in the fourth quarter.
So yeah, if you're the Browns, you're gonna start playing off, trying to work the clock
And
and
on
let them.
offense, you just hand the ball off 3 straight times, and if you don't get the first down, you just punt it.
Exactly. So you can't look at the final score and Dak's numbers and think he played amazing, because if he played as well as his numbers shown, they wouldn't be 1-3.
1-3.
And they're a fucking horrible onside kick attempt away from being 0-4.
Yes.
The Falcons, don't even get me started on that play.
we hashed that out 2
discussed
weeks ago.
But that should have been a loss right there. The Cowboys should be 0-4 right now.
Yeah. They're extremely lucky to be 1-3.
And Mike McCarthy, he came in saying, I'm ready to change. I've read all the analytics. I mean, I've been watching all this stuff. His offense is going to be different. It's no fucking different. They just sit back and throw the ball 50 times a game.
Yeah, they do. And we talked about this, I think, after week 1 or week 2. This Cowboys team isn't built the same as they were when Dak's first 2 years, when their offensive line was just the dominant offensive line that it once was. It's not that way anymore. I mean, Tyron Smith had missed a couple games. He's honestly been hurt the past couple years off and on. Travis Frederick is long gone from the league. La'el Collins is hurt. And their running game isn't what it used to be. They don't just get 5 yards every first down, and then it becomes 2nd and 5 and 3rd and 2, and they're a lot easier to convert. They have a lot of 3rd and 10s, and their offense is it's just I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take for people to realize that once you start paying Dak $40 million a year, this is what the Cowboys are going to be.
Exactly. We've been saying that forever.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. I don't know how many times they can get down 20, 30 points and think that that's their guy, or that they hired the right coach. I've never been a Mike McCarthy fan ever. And I think right now, I know it's his first year, but his track record so far.
Jason Garrett seeming to look pretty good to Cowboys fans right about now.
I don't know. The Giants, he's also the offensive coordinator of the worst offense in the league right now.
Touche. I'm going to let you get fired up about this one.
Oh, God.
Buccaneers beat the Chargers 38-31. Tom hit those for 5 touchdowns.
Okay.
It's the world on fire. First time since 17 he's thrown 5 touchdowns.
What the Chargers did was an abomination, because they're up 24-7 with the ball going into halftime. Fumble at the 8-yard line and basically hand the Buccaneers 7 points. And then in the second half, their offense just looks like complete dog shit. They don't know what the fuck is happening. Tom Brady's throwing ducks. Mike Evans is pushing off of people, not getting called for offensive pass interference. And then they just look like the best team in the league right now. I mean, I've seen so many people saying that the Bucs should be the favorite in the NFC. You want to see the 3 teams that they've beaten? The Broncos, who just got their first win, but it was against the 0-4 Jets. The Chargers, who are starting a rookie quarterback and also have a ton of injuries themselves and just are flat out. I mean, they lost Austin Eckler in the game. Their offensive line sucks. They don't have Derwin James. They don't have Melvin Ingram. And who else did they beat? Carolina. I know that they just beat Arizona, but are not a good team. Arguably one of the worst defenses in the league. It's just...
I mean, we're on the same page. I'm not overreacting to 5 touchdowns. what would have happened if they wouldn't have fumbled before the half.
Exactly. And don't just give the Buccaneers any sort of momentum going into the second half. I mean, I just don't understand that. It just makes me angry every time talking about this team because they're just not that good.
I'm actually about to pull up the Buccaneers schedule going forward because I'd like to know what they're about to get themselves into.
Well, I know they play Green Bay, Kansas City. I think they're at Chicago on Thursday night, which
Week 5 they're at Chicago on Thursday. Then they follow that up against Green Bay. Then they get the Raiders, the Giants,
those are two easy games. Easy.
Then they get the
wins.
Saints again, Panthers. Then their home stretch is okay. Rams, Chiefs, Vikings, Falcons, Lions, Falcons. What the fuck?
That's one of those weird division 2 games in 3 weeks.
I'm telling you, they're probably going to end the season with a record of like 11-5 or something, and people are going to be like, "Oh, they got Brady. They're going to dominate, and they're going to get beat in the first round of the playoffs."
They're going to be exposed, just like the Patriots were exposed last year in the playoffs. They will be. So I
don't go by what the record is. I'm not buying it.
It just makes me mad. Speaking of the Saints, I actually thought the Saints had played their best offensive game of this season. I know it's the Lions, but they were down 14-0, and then I think they scored 35 straight points, took their foot off the gas a little bit, kind of like how many teams do, where they get a huge lead, they go conservative, try and burn a lot of clock. But, I mean, a lot of talk was about Breeze not attacking downfield. I thought his arm looked fine against the Lions in this game. I thought he attacked downfield, and they were without Michael Thomas. I think they were without 6 starters, 3 of them on offense, 3 on defense. They were without 2 starting corners, Marcus Davenport, Jared Cook, Michael Thomas, and one other one that I can't think of who it was. But I thought they looked fine. And like I said, I know it's the Lions, but there were a lot of people talking about how the Saints didn't look like the Saints. And I think once they get Michael Thomas back, then I think you can make your true assessment of what their offense actually is.
Yeah, because Michael Thomas is a big part of their offense.
Yeah,
but
I mean, the dude takes 3 defenders at once.
How's this for a stat for you, Nick? I got 2 different ones, and they're both right on par with the Detroit Lions. First of all, they've lost 6 straight games in which they've led by 10 or more points.
That's embarrassing.
That is embarrassing. And then also, what other team do you know besides maybe Cleveland in the past decade that you could say they scored the first 14 points and scored the last 15 points and lost?
I don't know. I mean, that doesn't happen very often.
No, not really.
No, that's just poor. I mean, I actually thought the Lions were actually going to put up a little bit more of a fight this year. And like I said, I really was harping on Stafford having a great year in fantasy, but it doesn't look too hot so far.
Nope. I don't know how long Matt Patricia has left as the Detroit coach.
He's another one who has been given a lot of chances and he doesn't deserve them. Because I think before he got there, they had 2 straight winning seasons and made the playoffs one of the years. I don't believe he's made the playoffs at all in his first 3 seasons. I think this is number 4. So.
Yep, he's right up there at the top of the list on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Don't have too much to say about the Seahawks Dolphins. The Dolphins actually played it closer than I thought they were going to. Seahawks pull out another victory. They're 4-0, and I mean, they're still my pick to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, that one's kind of that trap game where it's the West Coast team traveling to the East Coast, playing at 1:00. That's always been tough on West Coast teams.
Not only following to the East Coast, they're going to the furthest possible team that they have on their schedule.
That's true.
I mean, they're going all the way to the tip of Florida, all the way up.
They made just enough plays to win this game. And sometimes that's how it happens. Sometimes you have to squeak out victories like that. Because, yeah, the Dolphins, they played hard. No, they're not a great team, but they do still play hard. They're very disciplined. And Seattle, like I said, Seattle just made enough plays at the end to win.
We talked Browns, Cowboys. I don't have much to say for the Jaguars, Bengals. Burrow got his first win.
Joey B.
Yeah, game 1 of the Jaguar season must have been an anomaly because since then they've gone 0-3. The Bengals have played everybody. I mean, they play hard. I believe Joe Burrow has them playing hard. They want to play for him. He's looked pretty good as a rookie, so future's bright for the Bengals with him at quarterback.
He's
I
just
don't
a
know what the hell
he's just a winner,
he
man. He
is.
really is. He's just a tough dude.
He
Also,
definitely gives it everything he has.
yeah. So
Uh, Colts Bears was a pretty boring game, 19-11.
yeah,
Bears defense looked better than I thought. Colts offense, I mean, they kept getting the ball down the field, but just like they have all season, their red zone offense has been pretty damn bad, so they
yeah.
settled for a lot of field goals. Bears offense with Nick Foles looked pretty bad, and I don't know if you can contribute that to the Colts having. I mean, statistically, they do have the best defense in the NFL right now. I still wouldn't say they are the best defense. I think that would, to me, would probably be Pittsburgh. I still believe Pittsburgh has the best defense in the league.
When push
But
comes to shove, yeah, I'd probably go Steelers.
they're right up there though. Colts defense has been playing lights out with DeForest Buckner. So, Colts 3-1, Bears 3-1. Like we had mentioned before, you and I both said the Bears are so overrated at 3-0.
They were the most faulty 3-0 team, maybe
and
of all time.
And that should have shown you from Vegas, who Bears were an undefeated team going into the game at home and were a dog to the Colts, who were 2-1.
Yeah.
So Vegas right there was telling you, we don't really believe in the Bears, whether they have Foles or not.
I mean, I said it last week, and I'll continue to say it. When the Colts, as a fan of the Colts, I just worry when they play a team with a good defense and a good offense with a capable quarterback, they could be in a little bit of trouble because I don't know if our offense can match points with a high-scoring team like the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Ravens. It's going to be, I think it's going to be tough to match points. Our defense is going to have to keep us in a lot of games this year. And I know you can attribute that, some of it to injury on the offensive side of the ball. But I thought Phillip Rivers looked, I mean, he missed a lot of wide open guys on Sunday. He did. So
he had some bad throws.
Yeah.
He wasn't asked to do too much, though. I
no,
mean, really, we
that's
just
what I'm
ran
saying.
the ball.
There's a formula that the Colts are going to have to win, and it's pretty dead set on what it is.
Yep, I agree with you.
So, but
you got Cardinals.
Yeah, the Bears. I mean, we talked about it last week too. I mean, we laid out how they won a few of their games. They had 4 good quarters through the first 3 weeks of the season, and were able to pull games out of their ass.
The Bears just aren't a good team, and I'm not convinced of it.
They're not. And I know that the Vikings are 1-3, but I think the Vikings are probably still a better team than the Bears.
That's what I said. Yeah, that division outside of Green Bay is just.
I mean, yeah, the Packers are far and away the best team in that division. I don't think there's any question. I wouldn't even take anybody's argument on another team being as good as the Packers or better.
Not much to say about the Broncos Jets. I mean, 2 bad teams. Broncos had a lot of hopes coming in, but I mean, they're down their starting quarterback. They've lost their best player overall. They've been hit by the injury bug, just like a lot of teams this year. So it was a battle of the fucking Jets, who could be the worst team in the league.
Do you remember that graphic I sent you of how much money is on the Broncos IR right now?
I think it's like $50-something million, isn't it?
$53 million is invested into their injured reserve for the season.
Yep.
That sucks.
So you can't even expect the Broncos to do anything.
No.
And Cardinals, Panthers.
I do want to ask you, what happened to the Cardinals the past 2 weeks?
I really don't know. Their offense hasn't had it going.
Murray only threw for 133 yards against the Panthers' terrible defense.
If I remember correctly, in the first half, it was like punt, 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 punt. And then I think the Panthers had a fumble on like their side of the field. It was either fumble or interception. It was some sort of turnover. And the Cardinals did score off of it, I want to say. But they were up 21-7 at that point going into half, I do believe.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good outing. The Panthers are kind of fun to watch. What
The
their
Panthers can
offense
score.
they can, and I think it was a good move going out and getting Teddy Bridgewater because he seems like he's a pretty good fit in that offense. I mean, they're 2-0 without Christian McCaffrey. I don't know what's happened to the Cardinals the past two games because they looked a lot more electrifying in the first two games.
Yes, they did. And who they lose to last? Detroit. They lost to the Lions. Their first two wins were over the 49ers, who are the defending NFC Super Bowl representative, one of the best defenses in the league. This was before all of their injuries. And who did they beat week 2? Was it the Rams?
No, I don't think it was the Rams.
Whoever the Cardinals beat in week 2. I don't remember exactly who it was, but their last two games, their offense has just been non-existent. And last year's sack leader, or shared for the sack lead, and Chandler Jones, I believe, only has one interception. Their first-round pick, and Isaiah Simmons. I mean, if you watch him on the field, he doesn't even look like he knows what he's doing. Like, he doesn't even look like he understands football on the on this level. So I don't know if
They beat the Washington football
oh,
team.
okay, so never mind. All right, their last three opponents haven't been that great. But anyways, my point is their defense has not helped their offense at all, and vice versa. In the first two games, they played complementary football where their offense was able to move the ball and keep their defense off the field. This way, if the offense isn't doing anything, they don't have a capable defense of getting multiple stops in a row.
Yeah, they really don't.
So that's a big thing that it boils down to.
It's basically it for this week, man.
I did just
Steelers
want to
got
do a side note.
postponed.
We talked about the Buccaneers and the Chargers. Did you know that Justin Herbert joined Patrick Mahomes as the only quarterback since the merger with at least 850 passing yards and 100-plus passer rating through their first 3 career games?
That is an interesting stat I did not know.
Yeah, that is. I think that I know it's early, but I think that's proving that Justin Herbert can succeed in the NFL. And I'm not sure if Tyrod Taylor comes back, what Anthony Lynn will do at quarterback. But I
I mean, if
think
he was
Justin
smart, he'd roll with
Herbert
Herbert.
has done enough through the first 3 games to play him, let him get some experience, because it's clear that he's not the type of guy who is just going to be like a Carson Palmer, or not Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, or someone like that, where the first 3 games just absolutely destroy their career. He looks like he belongs and is a player and is going to be their franchise quarterback. And they took him 6th overall, so you hope he's that guy.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Because I mean, he's looked the part so far.
Mm-hmm.
He has some rookie moments where you're just like, "What in the
Yeah.
shit were you thinking?" But everyone does.
And that's good to have those. It is, because you learn off of that shit.
Yep.
I mean, the greatest quarterback of all time, Peyton Manning, set the interception record his rookie year with 28. He still wants somebody to break that. I think he tells every rookie that every
I thought
single
it was
year.
26. Was it 28?
He had 26 touchdowns and 28 picks.
Gotcha.
Because Baker just recently broke Peyton's rookie touchdown record. I think, obviously, Baker's rookie year, 2 years ago. And still looking for somebody to break that INT record. Pretty sure he told Joe Burrow that, because Joe Burrow called him for advice this offseason.
Peyton's a funny guy.
He is. He's the man. No. But no, I don't have anything else on week 4. But if you want to look at it this way, there's 4 weeks in preseason. So these first 4 games, if your team is 1-3 or 2-2 or 0-4, if you want to look at it a bright spot and your team can turn it around, look at those first 4 games as preseason. I know they count, but look for your team to turn it around week 5.
No, they've got the 4 weeks of experience.
They've got some of that shit under their belt. They're ready to roll now. Some of these guys, maybe they just had 4 weeks to wake up.
I like the positivity.
Yeah. I'm trying to give fan bases of teams who are
Unless you're
pretty
the
bad
Texans,
right now.
you should just put your head down.
You said the Texans?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys suck. Not you fans. The team. The organization. Just bad right now. So.
Yep.
All right. But Lakers tonight take a commanding 3-1 lead. And there'll be a much different discussion about the Lakers tomorrow. That's a guarantee.
Let's do it, Nick. Let's guarantee it right now.
I am. I'll guarantee it. So,
All right.
All right. Subscribe.
Well, what happens if they don't win?
I just look like an idiot.
All right, dude.
Call me Charles Barkley because he throws a lot of these guarantees out and he's wrong a lot of the times.
I like it.
So, all right. But as always, subscribe, rate, review to the Unwanted Opinions podcast, Google Play, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Unwanted Opinions with Nick and Jay. Email unwantedopinionspodcast@gmail.com. Our DMs are open. Slide in questions, comments, anything.
I like it. Until next time.
Until next time.